Hey, it's Tsunami Sam once again. Hope everybody's doing okay and taking care of themselves and all that jazz. Today's video, we got Banshee. Initially, I was kind of excited for Banshee because she's a really good weapons platform. They're an older frame and everything, but they got some really good buttons. So I figured it'd be like a more fun like level cap challenge thingy compared to Atlas and all that jazz. So let's take a look with what we were working with. I do this every time. One second, let me fix it. Alright, so abilities. Well, we got our passive here. Weapon noises are hushed, so the enemies cannot hear them. Which is kind of a funny passive on a warframe that doesn't naturally stealth. So I don't know why that would specifically matter. But, you know, it's an older frame, so we're going to have silly passives that don't really do anything on a lot of these older ones. But if you can stealth, this is pretty good for, like, if you're making a build to, like, level up weapons with a stealth affinity booster on unalerted enemies. So, I mean, that's a use case. Or you can just slap a freaking suppressor mod on your guns. Second ability, Sonic Boom. This ability kind of sucks. I like how it's worded, honestly. Emits a sonic shockwave that pushes targets in a range with enough force to incapacitate or kill attackers. Shocker, this isn't killing anything. But there is a fun augment that will make it armor strip. So now that I think about it, you might actually keep this ability just for the armor stripping shenanigans. So it's pretty cool she can armor strip. What she doesn't really need because of her second ability, Sonar. This ability is crazy. So as you see in the footage for the intro, you're going to spam your 2 a bunch, and it'll stack these little weak point markers all over an enemy, and they can overlap each other. So that almost 10 times damage multiplier could be like times 40 if you shoot someone with like 5-10 sonar stacks on people. And it also has this crazy augment right here. Killing an enemy by shooting their weak spot will trigger another sonar for 100% of remaining duration. Checking out the wiki, this has like an internal cooldown of like 3 or 5 seconds, so you can't just like kill 3 people and then it'll multiply the 5 stacks all those dudes had to like 15 stacks on everybody else around them. But sometimes if you kill like 2 people at the same time, I guess those stacks could overlap on someone. But you're like putting this augment on your build no matter what, like every other build, because Banshee's like whole identity is this sonar thing to me. But what's also really nice is the third ability, Silence, a really underrated ability, which is probably one of the top 10 best subsume abilities in the game. Silence does a bunch of cool things, like it'll stagger people when you come into range with them, which is a minor stun. This is really good for like survivability kind of stuff. This also turns off all Eximus and Acolyte enemy abilities, like Violence, for example. That Acolyte, they won't silence you because you'll silence them. In the run though I did for the level cap, I did get silenced once. I don't know if it's because they like spawned on me and it like hit me before they could get silenced, but for the most part this will permanently turn off everything's abilities. Really freaking sick button. And she gets it for free. Soundquake is pretty cool. I remember a couple of years ago when nuking Hydron with Soundquake was like kind of the meta, and now it's just kind of a poopy button. But it does have a really cool augment where you can hit it and it'll do a bunch of damage, so you don't have to like sit there channeling the whole time. It pushes people back. It does blast damage. But in any real content, I think this is actually your fourth ability, is where you would subsume over most of the time, because your one can armor strip. So you're probably getting rid of this button a lot of the time. But I did make a cool little build where you can spam Resonating Quake for like lower level stuff. It can be kind of fun. I don't know if it triggers sonar. I think sonar is just projectiles and stuff when you shoot people with guns. But yeah, those are the abilities. We replaced our fourth ability with Evade, so we can be invisible In stealth, this is how we stayed alive. This is how we didn't die because people weren't shooting at us. Really cool ability. A lot of frames used to solve the survivability issue. And that's mainly the biggest weakness, I think, of Banshee, is just staying alive. Everything else about her kit's super good. Like, again, we got sonar, we got silence. So I did evade. To talk about the mods, since we're spamming our 2 all day, I use Brief Respite to generate shields and kind of shield gate when we get hit by some kind of AoE, maybe like an electric Eximus dude hits us, or fire dot from like the heat Eximus guy hits us because our silence didn't turn their abilities off and we jumped into them or something. But yeah, staple survivability mod here, Brief Respite. What else? Prime Sure-Footed, so we don't knock ourselves around. And there's actually a couple of flexy things here I can go over in a second. But yeah, we got a decent amount of duration just for evade. It's at 38 seconds. Pretty comfortable. Efficiency doesn't necessarily matter because we have like 800 freaking energy. And for Archon Shards, I had like 1 energy shard, which I'll probably talk about in a second. So energy was pretty chill, and a decent amount of range and strength. So overextended here, this is one of the changes you could do. You could swap out overextended for stretch. We'll only have a like 28-yard radius for our sonar, but again, we have resonance. So when we kill people, the resonance can cascade around and hit a bunch of people, and also the reduction in range will make our silence radius like 16 meters. So things just had to be a little bit more closer before we start staggering them and turning their abilities off. But if that isn't a big deal to you, yeah, you can get a ton more power strength if you just want to swap out overextended for stretch, and you get a little more energy economy with the electricity damage. So that's a change you could do. I personally like the more range because if I have more range, I have more silence range for the silence and stagger for defensive whatnots, and the sonar can cascade farther across the map. Especially if you're like in a group scenario, this helps you just sonar more people. So that's a change you could do. Any other changes? I don't think there's really anything else you might want to do. You kind of need rolling guard. I guess if you took out overextended, maybe take out blind rage, and then do something like, I want to say transient. You could do like intensify, and I guess you still want stretch if you can fit it in there. You could do this if you want more efficiency. This is an option. If you don't care about strength, because again, you can spam sonar, and with our higher efficiency, maybe you could do the augment for armor stripping. Not this one. But you still need strength, so maybe Molt augmented, and then eventually your sonic fracture can armor strip things as well. What's the range on this? 11 meters. That kind of sucks. I don't know. There's a bunch of things you could try with like these few mods, but a bunch of these other things are kind of non-negotiables, like the duration, especially if you're doing evade, like narrow-minded and all that jazz. You could take out narrow-minded if you're not doing evade. That's another option. But yeah, those are the mods. And then Arcane Crepuscular, because we're stealth, it gives us more crit damage and ability strength. So this is actually 170. And then Molt augmented, I think, is optional for the extra 60 more power strength. That just makes our sonar stronger. But you could do stuff like Arcane Pistolier for infinite ammo on your pistols if you're doing like secondary guns, because she is a weapons platform, right? Or any other kind of like weapon arcane. Overall, this is pretty chill frame. Nothing really gave me any issues at all throughout the whole level cap. Where I actually had trouble was with the loadout. But before I talk about the weapons, I want to talk about the Archon Shards real quick. I went with 2 casting speed Talford shards. I tried 3, but I think 2 is the sweet spot. And the third one could be an energy effectiveness orb thingy. When stuff gets to like level 8,000 plus, etc., you're spamming sonar a whole lot more. And again, maybe that's just like the loadout issue with the guns. But just having the extra energy really helped, because I noticed I wasn't always full energy. I'd sit around half a lot of the time, because you just spam. All you do is spam sonar, but it's like almost 100 a freaking cast. And when you're hitting the higher level enemies, you want to spam a couple of them just so you're killing them with your gun. On a failed attempt, these 2 armor stripping shards were 2 duration shards, so the evade was more comfier. It would like last 4 more seconds longer, especially when you're like traveling between exolizers. That helped. But if you're just smarter, you can deal with the 38 seconds. Anyway, I went with the 2 armor stripping shards because even though we do ludicrous amounts of damage with sonar, the armor strip was still really nice when we couldn't stack that many sonars and things. So I mean, if you're doing solo content, I think the like solo level capping the 2 armor stripping shards is what you want to do, even if she's doing shit tons of damage. Or maybe you can like swap in the armor strip augment somewhere if you can make it work. But I think this is like the comfiest evade build, best min-max thingy I could come up with, and I liked it a lot. So now that we've gone over the Archon Shards, we go over the loadout. I'll start with the secondary first. I did it with the dual Torxica. I think if you wanted super duper easy mode, you could have done you could do the Toxicist. But I did the dual Torxica. I did secondary innervate build with corrosive heat, valence bonus. Here are all the mods for that. Just a bunch of crit damage stacking because they're doing innervate. Magnetic's nice for the overguard. No Bane mods, but if you were to do a Bane mod, I actually don't know what you would replace. Heated charge? Probably no Bane mods, especially if you're doing it on Banshee. But yeah, these guns are cool. I just really think if you want to use them, the reload sucks. You really feel it sometimes holding down left click. And that's where like the pistolier recommendation comes in for the ammo efficiency, so you don't have to sit there for an hour reloading. Another cool tech thing I did was the Scourge ult fire. Here's the build, but I don't think it really matters other than the fire rate, so you can ult fire faster. But when you throw it out with the ult fire, it does this little AoE thing within 14 meters every 3 seconds, putting little like magnetized bubbles for headshots on things, and that's how I kept getting all the headshots and maintain my evade stealth so easily. So this is just a little workaround thing. If you're using like the Toxicist, like I mentioned earlier, headshots is way more easier with that thing. So maybe you could forego the Scourge Prime and use like a primer, like Cedo Prime if you wanted. And then to shoot faster with the Torxica or any secondary I was using, I used the Furex Wraith with the fire rate mod on it. It's just a stat stick for my secondary. But yeah, if you weren't using a secondary gun, you can use like primaries. You can use any gun you want. That's like level cap worthy. I think the Boltor is really sick if you wanted to do that. Bore Prime's really crazy. Probably do the Aelac. The AX is good. Bubonico. A Cedo actual damage build. You know, the Burst and Prime classic. A bunch of cool things. Maybe even the Fulman would have been sick, like an Acuity build Fulman. But yep, that's the loadout. What else we got here? Check my little sticky note. Oh, the companion. Yep. Alright, so for more energy economy, I did the Death Cube. This is the Death Cube build, synth deconstruct, so we get more health orbs when it reaches like 8,000 plus, 7,000 plus, whatever. The orb economy on the ground feels like it starts to feels like it's not as existent. So you really want synth deconstruct if you're trying to get your equilibrium energy orbs and shit. And then we got the energy generator, really helpful. Tenacious Bond for more crit damage. Duplex Bond for more priming. prime regen, so this guy is alive more often. And yeah, that's the build for him. And then here's the same Vergas build I've been using all the time. I know it's electric, and this should be heat for like super cool companion damage, but my Riven's electric for I was trying Corrosive Blast. But yeah, just to spread viral and an extra thing for like CO purposes. That's what this is. He's also got 100 munitions for another status. We're doing the 547. This is the triple burst amp. We're doing Emergent Savior. This will protect you from lethal damage for 5 seconds and recover 6% health. This is really nice when you're getting knocked around towards the end of the run by the high level dudes. They're just one-shotting you. This is really, really nice. But you could also do something like this is kind of like a flex slot. What I do recommend always doing though is Magus Cloud. So when you're dashing around the little tethers to the Exalizer, you'll knock them out just by running into them. And then here's like the classic mainstay Eternal Eradicate for more damage on the amp when you cast like your 2. And Eternal Onslaught for that crit chance. This is really, really big. When I say 2, I meant like the 2 of Matter Eye. What's the second ability? Second ability emits a Void Wave. You just throw this out. Everybody knows how it works. And it makes whatever you hit with the wave take a bunch of damage. And then the first ability, just to mention it, you hit it, it uses all your energy, and then you shoot something really hard. But yeah, this is like the Operator Kills Thrax focus school you want to use. But yeah, I think that wraps up the Banshee video. Overall, Banshee is super sick. Old but gold. Here's the fashion if you're interested. Kind of gives me Twitch.tv color vibes, but at the same time I kind of really like it with the neons and the purples. Here's the attachments. Maybe this will inspire you. But yeah, my Tech Rock Banshee. Banshee's really cool. It was a good time. But now I'm super excited for the next frame. Baruuk. So wish me luck on the next Baruuk video coming up soon. And yeah, to wrap it up, I just hope everyone's healthy, getting good rest, doing the best out there, and yeah, cute little outro emote wave. And yeah, take care of yourselves, guys. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Shoo.